in the Final Four for us? Well, you're going to see one of them, Pat Ewing of the Hoyas of Georgetown, up against Melvin Turpin of Kentucky, too. That will be coming up if Georgetown can get past the Dayton Flyers. Now, that West Regional title game is still ahead of us here on CBS, and we will continue in just a moment.
Today from Pauley Pavilion, the surprise team of the West. Dayton meets the top seed in the West, Georgetown. Don Donaher is one step away from his second trip to the Final Four, his first since 1967. John Thompson with a win today would return to the Final Four for the second time in 3 years. CBS Sports presents the NCAA Championship live from the UCLA campus. It's the championship final in the West Regional between the Flyers of Dayton and the Hoyas of Georgetown. Dayton's Roosevelt Chapman is the leading scorer in this year's NCAA tourney. The 6'4" senior is averaging over 30 points a game. He's the Flyers' all-time leading scorer. Pat Ewing of Georgetown is one of the game's most dominant defenders, averaging 4 blocks a game. The 7-footer's a consensus All-America. The Hoyas and Flyers from the battle for Seattle.
Today's regional final tournament game is sponsored by Chevrolet. America is on the move, and Chevrolet is supplying the wheels. Chevrolet and you taking charge. Bud Light, the light beer with a taste that's satisfying but never filling. And by Delta Airlines, 35,000 professionals serving more than 90 cities in the U.S. and abroad. Delta is ready when you are.
The site is Pauley Pavilion for this West Regional Championship game between Dayton and Georgetown. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender, the Beast of the East, the Big East champion. Georgetown team with their intense, physical, intimidating club have come west, and the only obstacle in their way is a gritty, determined little band of warriors called the Dayton Flyers. Truly the Cinderella team of the 1984 tournament. And Billy Patrick, as you look at Dayton, their tallest starter is 6'7". How are they doing it?
Well, Gary, I really don't know. I thought when I came to Salt Lake City I had seen the last of them, but they're still here. They're playing extremely good basketball. Don Donaher packs in that man-to-man, plays very tough. And you can see from the tail of the tape here, it's absolutely amazing. In my opinion, the Dayton Flyers are listed a little taller than they really are, and Georgetown probably a little bit smaller than they are. But Patrick Ewing at 7 foot going against Young at 6'7". The guards are even overmatched. And look at those records during the regular season. The Hoyas were outstanding against tournament teams.
But remember North Carolina State of a year ago.
Well, it really is, and that's what makes the NCAA tournament what I think is a great event, and the fact that you really can't chart it in regard to who's supposed to be in the Final Four. You got to win your way there.
Okay, the winner of this game will claim the final spot in the Final Four, and they will be playing the Kentucky Wildcats next week in Seattle. Georgetown against Dayton for the West Regional Championship. And now for the introduction of our starting lineup, let's go to our public address announcer, Don Sawyer.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Pauley Pavilion for today's West Regional final game between the Flyers of the University of Dayton and the Hoyas of Georgetown University. Now let's meet the starting lineups. For Dayton, at forward, a 6'4" senior from Brooklyn, New York, number 22, Roosevelt Chapman. For Georgetown, at forward, a 6'11" junior from Suitland, Maryland, number 52, Ralph Dalton. For Dayton, at forward, a 6'6" sophomore from St. Mary's, Ohio, number 23, Damon Goodwin. For Georgetown, at forward, a 6'5" sophomore from Baltimore, Maryland, number 40, David Wingate. For Dayton, at center, a 6'7" sophomore from Upper Sandusky, Ohio, number 30, Ed Young. For Georgetown, at center, a 7-foot junior from Cambridge, Massachusetts, number 33, Patrick Ewing. For Dayton at guard, a 6'3" junior from Floydsdobs, Indiana, number 11, Larry Schellenberg. For Georgetown at guard, a 6'5" senior from Bronx, New York, number 20, Fred Brown. For Dayton at guard, a 6'2" junior from Dayton, Ohio, number 3, Cedric Toney. For Georgetown at guard, a 6'1" sophomore from Reston, Virginia, number 30, Michael Jackson. And the coaches for Dayton in his 20th season, Don Donaher, and for Georgetown in his 12th season, John Thompson.
The officials in charge of this game: on the left, Paul Hausman from Roanoke, Virginia, Paul Galvin from Fort Worth, Texas, and Don Rutledge from Windermere, Florida. Dayton against Georgetown. The final spot in the Final Four to be decided here at Pauley Pavilion. These two clubs, Dayton and Georgetown, meeting for the third time. They have split the two previous meetings. In 1952, Don Donaher was a sophomore guard on the Dayton Ball Club, and they won it. And then in 1978, Georgetown won in the second round of NIT play. And Don Donaher has been a miracle man. Dayton, impressive wins. They started out with a win over LSU. Then they added Oklahoma to their list and then defeated Washington here Friday night. The size differential, we posted that at the start, and it's very evident here at the center jump, as you're going to have Chapman at 6'4" going against Ewing at 7 foot.
But Chapman's a quick leaper, and there Ewing wasn't ready. Patrick Ewing was looking down, wasn't ready to jump at all.
Is that some kind of a trend we may see today?
John Thompson talking to the official. How about warning our players? And here's Georgetown in that starting 2-1-2 zone.
Cedric Toney, number 3, the junior from Dayton. Ed Young, who's not been scoring as much in the tournament as he did in regular season. Toney missing. Schellenberg is there, and he gets it in.
Schellenberg is 6'3", but probably closer to 6'2", 6'1.5", goes right up over Ewing.
Schellenberg has kind of been the leader in this tournament. He's taken over the leadership role of the Flyers.
And there's Chapman matched up against Dalton. 6'3" against 7 foot or 6'11".
Wingate misses. Here comes Toney. Toney intended for Chapman. He has the handle eventually, and he has another 2 points.
Well, it's obvious, Gary, that Dayton's going to take advantage of the break. If it's there, it's not going to be a total slow-down game, which is very good strategy.
They came out and obviously not in awe of this Georgetown team at all.
Straight man-to-man. And you can see when it goes into Patrick Ewing, everybody collapsing.
Michael Jackson, the sophomore, excellent shooter, followed by Wingate. Coming out of there, whether it was Wingate, Jackson again, and Georgetown is on the scoreboard.
But Georgetown very overpowering on the boards, and here they go into their full court pressure.
They're the number 2 rebounding team in the country, Georgetown. They've out-rebounded teams by an average of 10 a game.
You see, Georgetown uses Dalton as the point. It's hard to throw the ball over him, obviously.
Foul will go on Fred Brown. Dayton must shoot the ball well. That's been their forte all year long. But they have been surprising in the rebounding. They picked it up in tournament play, screening and blocking off well.
And Gary, now Georgetown going to their 1-3-1 trap. They have Dalton in the middle. They're showing a lot of different defenses right out of the box.
You got 6'11" Dalton and Ewing. There's not a lot of room in there.
Ewing really comes out from underneath that basket to protect guys that want to take a jumper from the wing.
This is Goodwin. Goodwin, who's been shooting so well from the free throw line.
Ewing looking for the lob. He gets down the court so well on the break.
Georgetown with a chance to tie it up. Pat Ewing, rebound. Schellenberg had position, and they call a foul on him.
I thought that was Brown coming over his back. Don Donaher not liking the call a bit.
Schellenberg, the junior, out of Indiana. He's come through in all phases of the game. Don Donaher does not voice his displeasure that much. He's very calm and collected on the sideline, but not happy with that one. Jackson has tied it up.
One of the things that really helps Georgetown, they have a power game inside, but John Thompson really has good perimeter shooting, and Jackson and Broadnax when he comes off the bench.
Billy, we haven't seen anybody pressure Dayton effectively. They've handled all the pressure throughout the tournament.
Well, you're looking at a team basically with 4 guards. They've got 4 guards and a forward in their starting lineup.
Young in difficulty stepped on the baseline, and that'll turn it over to Georgetown.
They all catch the ball well, they handle the ball well, and they don't force a lot of things. So you get a well-coached club with 4 basic guards on the floor, it's tough to press it.
Here's Fred Brown, who does what John Thompson wants. He's like another coach on the floor in the estimation of John. Here's Ewing again, and he's on the scoreboard.
Gary, it's always difficult to defend a team that's got a good perimeter shooter that feeds the post well, because if you collapse, he can make the jump shot. If you stay out, it leaves Ewing wide open.
Ewing really missed Fred Brown. He missed Brown last year when he was out most of the year with a knee injury.
No question, and there's Ewing back there running the baseline. Brown, aggressive defender.
Damon Goodwin kicks it back out to Schellenberg. Back to Goodwin. Good ball movement.
That was a great screen by Young. He caught Ewing on the inside, and he set a screen on him so that Ewing couldn't get back out to Goodwin.
And it's all even at 6. Georgetown coming in here with a record of 31 wins and only 3 losses. Jackson. There's Ewing inside.
Good foul.
And that is going to be a foul. Going to go against Dayton. And Ewing.
No,
wait a minute. Is it going to be on Ewing?
Here's where Patrick Ewing is amazing with his power. He had the ball in his possession. He's going to be so strong here that when he grabs the ball, he's going to hit Schellenberg. Now watch it. He's going to get it on this rebound. He has the ball in his possession, and there's Schellenberg. He just drives him out of the way. Foul on Ewing.
A lot of bulk in there, and the guy who's a real warrior, Ewing, has picked up his first foul.
Again, pressing. Chapman showing good patience.
6 all, 16-13 to go in this first half.
The reason that press is so effective is you have Ewing all the way back there as a safety man. So even if you lob it over the press, it's hard to go to the basket with the ball.
It was about Chapman, and Ewing just slapped it out in midair. Schellenberg recovered it, but he threw it away.
Now, wait a minute. That ball is not out of bounds. It's because the first thing it touched was the Georgetown player on the sideline.
Michael Graham. Well, Graham is coming in.
Now,
let's see if we can pick it up on a replay.
Let's see this a second. Now, Ewing really does his job showing how he can come out and defend. I want to see who's the first person this touches. That ball is not out of bounds until it touches the man on the sideline.
Well, the officials did award it to Georgetown. Again, it's batted out of bounds. The Hoyas will still maintain possession.
Gary, Graham was not in the game, so he wasn't officially a player. But he's standing on the sidelines. He should not have touched that ball. It was the proper call, but he should have just let it go out of bounds and hit something else.
There's Graham, blocked by Chapman. Chapman up above him, and Graham's 6'9", so he got up above the 6'9" Graham.
Some timing. The thing I like about Chapman, he lets the game really come to him. Even though he's a great scorer, he doesn't pressure himself into getting off a lot of shots.
Dayton 3 of 6 from the field. On the other hand, Georgetown's hit only 3 of their 10 offerings thus far.
And Graham much more active than Dalton in the center.
Tony. He came out shooting the ball with confidence. He has given Dayton a 2-point lead.
Tony's been a hot shooter throughout the tournament. He's had some great streaks throughout this year.
He had 14 points against Washington and hit 6 of 8 from the field in that game. Brown is not an outside shooter.
Man-to-man, backed in inside the foul line. We saw Indiana play yesterday. This is very similar type defense.
There's that rebounding that's been so surprising. Chapman is there. Now have to be careful. Beautiful pass to Young. All 5 starters now for Dayton have scored, and that might answer the question whether Chapman could play a guard in the pros. He handled it well.
Good point, Gary. A lot of people have been asking that since he's been the top player in the NCAA individually so far in the tournament. A lot of pro people saying, can this guy play guard? He showed a little bit there.
Fred Brown on a reverse move. That was Ewing with a good vision of the court that time, getting the ball to the baseline. We have a timeout, 14-10 to go in this first half. Dayton leading Georgetown by 2.
puts beauty into motion every day. Delta is ready when you are.
Chevrolet, taking charge.
Make your move to Chevrolet's new Celebrity.
Move into more.
Move into the comfort of more passenger room than 91 out of 95 import cars. Move into Celebrity and the traction of front drive.
Move into more.
Celebrity. No other new car gives you this much passenger room at a price this low.
Chevrolet,
And you.
taking charge.
14-10 to go in the first half, and Dayton has come out here and played very effectively with a 2-point lead, 10-8. Dayton shooting 63% from the field. Georgetown only 33, and Dayton has all 5 of their starters in the scoring column. I think it shows again, Dayton playing with, as that old proverb goes, with nothing to lose and everything to gain. They've come out loose, not intimidated, not in awe at all of the second-ranked team in the country, the top seed in the West.
Gary, when you have a club that's very well coached and they get the confidence that they've had throughout this year, as well as playing in the NCAA tournament, they're fundamentally sound, and therefore they shouldn't be rattled whatsoever.
Chapman will inbounds the ball. Bill Martin, number 24, 6'7" junior forward, has come in for Georgetown.
Georgetown's bench is so long with quality players. There's Gene Smith in the game, and Gene Smith is all over the court.
When he comes in, the intensity defensively steps up about 2 clicks. The captain of this ball club.
And I often get a kick out of John Thompson with his starting lineup. His starting lineup is really not important. It's his finishing lineup that counts. And actually, that is his starting lineup. Coming out right now is probably the best team he can put on the floor.
He'll play 10 guys. He has that kind of depth. Chapman, he challenged Ewing.
Took it right to Patrick Ewing. Used his body to shield the ball. I think he surprised Patrick Ewing a little bit, Garrett.
Well, he's such a quick leaper. Billy, you talked about the difference between a leaper and a quick leaper. He has that quick ability to get up in your face. Here's Ewing at the other end.
Shooting right over to the top of Young. Ewing surprised a lot of people with his accuracy on that jumper. And here's the press again with Billy Martin playing the point.
Chapman, though, always cool, calm, poised, handling it very well. He's got that New York school ground background that he just doesn't let things rattle him at all, coming out of the Brooklyn, New York area. Tony from a long ways out.
That's a little longer out than what Don Donaher would like. A little bit more patience on the shot.
Martin with the rebound. Michael Jackson in the face of Tony. Bill Martin with the rebound.
Now we're seeing a real strong club on the floor for Georgetown, and Dayton will have trouble with this combination.
Bill Martin, since they put him in a reserve role coming off the bench, has really picked up his game. He relaxes more when he doesn't start, and he has been an excellent reserve.
Dayton handles the press pretty well, but you notice they're not attacking against this team with the press. Georgetown now goes man-to-man.
It's tied up at 12. Inside Chapman, and that was off of Michael Jackson, who reached in on him.
Let's see who Georgetown matches up in a man-to-man going up against Chapman. They're going to have to go zone on this out-of-bounds situation, but I'll really be interested to see. Good lob.
You wouldn't expect them to be able to do that against a guy like Ewing, would you?
Second time today, Gary, that Ewing's been caught asleep early on the inbounds pass and on the original jump ball. Referee, you got to really be alert. The referee's handling that ball in early.
This is a very bright, very intelligent Dayton team. They lead by 2. Ewing, touch pass, comes back out to Jackson.
Jackson really looking to take the ball under the score.
Michael Jackson was 6 points. He had a big night Friday night, hitting 12 of 12 from the free throw line for Georgetown.
There's a team well coached and well schooled against the zone press. Goodwin came right up through the middle and was able to catch the ball.
Wellenberg gets it across to Tony. Again, Dayton handling the pressure very well. Here's Goodwin.
Got to make those shots.
Wingate comes down with a rebound. Here comes Michael Jackson again.
Patrick Ewing, they can get it into him anytime they want. That's tough for Dayton to handle. But when it goes in, everybody collapses around him, leaving Jackson wide open.
Michael Jackson, who was slowed early in the year with a shoulder injury, has come on now to average close to 10 points a game. Wingate had the steal, and it's going to go off of Dayton. Ed Young touched it last.
Got a little riled. Christie coming on in the ball game, making the lineup even smaller, but they've got to do something with Jackson.
Dan Christie is a freshman, but he played very well against Washington Friday night.
And he's going to match up with Jackson. They're going to try to do something, slow down his offense.
Georgetown by 2, 16-14. Wingate from outside. Their shooting from outside has been suspect at times, but right now they are zeroing in.
Well, this is a fine team on the floor right now. And as I said, John Thompson starts a lineup that might not be his best 5 players, but when he puts this group in, they are tough.
They break the pressure, but look how quickly Smith got back. Gene Smith like a kamikaze out there, running from one end to the other.
It's Billy Martin on Chapman. So what you've got there is a much bigger man, and Chapman, of course, can go outside or inside. He pushes pretty well. He's a lot stronger than he looks like.
Dayton again, moving the ball very, very well. They seem to make very creative passes, positive passes.
It's a tough man-to-man by Georgetown now. They hold teams down below 40% field goal shooting-wise, which is really outstanding considering the competition they play.
They were at an NCAA record pace, holding teams under 40% from the field.
That's right. There's Ewing, and one of the reasons they just swarm you on defense.
That's the 3rd turnover against Dayton.
You'll see Patrick Ewing comes out from the sideline. Good defense, individual defense by Martin on Chapman, and there's no way Chapman can be prepared for Ewing coming from under the basket.
Georgetown by 4. 10 minutes left in the first half.
And Don Donaher goes into the zone. 1-3-1 zone, just trying to stop some of this outside shooting by Georgetown. He's packing it way back in. Now, one fellow that will not shoot from the outside very often is Gene Smith, but with Wingate in there and Jackson, plus the ability to go inside to Ewing, it's tough.
Into Patrick, a little too tall for him, and a foul coming up. Going to go on Ed Young of Dayton. Substitutions, Reggie Williams, 34, will come in. Also checking in will be Horace Brodnax, again showing you the depth.
It doesn't make any difference who comes in or who goes out. The simple reason you just come in with more stellar players. John Thompson has really put together a program.
Second team foul against Dayton, the first on Ed Young.
Gary, talking about subs, Georgetown in the tournament so far, their starters have played 197 minutes out of a possible 400. Dayton starters have played 527 minutes out of 600. That's 87% of the time the starters are in for Dayton, which really will tell its tale in a game like today.
There was some thought that during the season, John Thompson might have lost a game or two just trying to develop that depth, playing more players, getting them more minutes, and down the stretch it should really help him. And in this game in particular, Dayton, the Iron Man role, Georgetown to play 10 people. Ewing hits them both. He has 6 points. A 6-point lead now for Georgetown. The Hoyas, they'd like to return to the Final Four for the 2nd time in 3 years.
If you're just starting out in business, Team Xerox can help with a choice of small copiers or memory writer typewriters. And as you grow bigger, we offer you personal computers and larger copiers. And as you grow even bigger, we offer integrated workstations, electronic printers, and service second to none. So is Team Xerox better for small companies or large corporations? It depends on your point of view.
American Cheryl Miller and USC reign supreme. Who will be this year's team of destiny? The NCAA Women's Basketball Championship next Sunday on CBS Sports.
Talking about the women's championship, USC represented by the McGee sisters, Paula and Pam, delightful young ladies, and USC very much in the picture.
Well, they are, and everybody knows about Cheryl Miller, but there are 2 people that form the nucleus of that front line, and they're excellent basketball players, very pretty girls. I'm going to check them on that hairdo they've done. I like them better when it's a little longer.
Georgetown has run off 8 unanswered points. They've hit 4 shots in a row, and Bill Martin picks up a foul on the inbounds.
Georgetown's going to commit some fouls in this particular defense, but they just keep so much pressure on the offense.
They can continue that because of that depth. They can go at that breakneck pace as Chapman will inbounds.
Well, with the exception of Patrick Ewing, Georgetown really can't get hurt if any player were to get in foul trouble at any position.
There's the backcourt scoring. Michael Jackson leading that.
Dayton spending an awful lot of time now just getting the ball over half court, not able to attack whatsoever against the press.
Christie goes in, and he sees number 33 and gets out of there.
Didn't forget that. Man-to-man by Georgetown with a quick team on the floor. Now Broadnex and Jackson in the backcourt makes it even quicker.
Now, there's that quick leaping, but Ewing anticipated it beautifully.
Patrick Ewing could have blocked that one with his elbow.
He averages almost 4 blocks a game, and imagine how many shots he alters.
9 his 8. Good job by Young. He got Ewing off the ground, but Ewing's playing the whole baseline.
Young has been seasonally down in this tournament as far as scoring average is concerned, but now has 6 points in this game. He's cut it to 4.
Ewing got knocked to the ground. Dayton doesn't ask for any quarter, and they don't give any either.
Call them the Hammer and Hoyas. They are so physical, so intimidating, so intense.
Young doing a good job trying to stay in front of Patrick Ewing.
Reggie Williams, the freshman, out to Jackson. Reggie Williams probably a superstar this year for a lot of ball clubs. Here's Ewing again.
But Gary, what he has developed so well is he catches the ball at his chin level or above and doesn't drop it down to give the defense a chance. So he shoots right out of that position, which is an excellent move.
Ewing with 8 points. Georgetown is 5 for 5 now from the field.
Young doing
5 attempts, and Young misses, and Ewing is there.
But he's doing a smart thing. He's being guarded by Ewing, and he's stepping outside to take the jumper. Obviously, nobody inside to rebound, so he's going to have to hit him.
In the corner is Bill Martin, and Reggie Williams is over the back, commits the foul.
Williams had a clear lane. Very seldom do you find Dayton get in a situation where they don't block out well. That time, Williams had a clear lane to the basket.
Reggie Williams has had some very bright moments this year. He had a 22-point game against Syracuse. He was the National High School Player of the Year last year at Baltimore Dunbar High School.
Now the press is man-to-man, so a little different than that zone press when Dalton was in the game. Bill Martin on Chapman. What a matchup.
Schellenberg. Ewing can't stop that move.
Patrick a little late getting there that time, and really not a good job by Broadnax because Schellenberg went right around him.
Dayton comes back within 4. Georgetown, as expected, has the best part of the rebounding. As we said, second in the nation. Williams, difficult shot at best.
There's probably the next George Durbin right there. He's got all those kind of slashing drive moves inside.
Schellenberg, Jackson on the steal. He was toying with him, and he all of a sudden, quickly, was able to get the ball.
Normally, Schellenberg would be matched up with the big guard, but now, because Georgetown has so many capable players, he's got to go against a small, quick guard, which makes it tough.
8-point lead, the biggest of the game, and Schellenberg almost lost it again. Christie from the corner. Young has the rebound, and it's broken up. Reggie Williams got a handle on it. Here comes Goodwin. Chapman. A good recovery by Dayton.
Nice hang. If he had put that straight up, Patrick Ewing would have gotten a piece of it, but it was a good hang in the air.
Chapman scores, and they continue to filter new faces in. Wingate will come back into the ball game. Williams will sit down. And Gene Smith has come back in for Georgetown.
Gary, many times when a coach substitutes as much as John Thompson, you break up combinations. But Georgetown is so interchangeable with their personnel. With the exception of Ewing, you've got guards that have quickness that can go in through each other in the same way at the forward spot.
Rebound impressively by Bill Martin. And somehow Goodwin gets it out of there. You know, that team they had 2 years ago in the Final Four did not have this kind of depth.
No.
Nice make by Christie. Martin's there again. Martin showing his leaping ability.
And Dayton getting some good shots. They just can't get them to fall.
And that could be a very foreboding thing for them. They must shoot well if they have any chance at all to win this game. Broadnex is the next one.
Oh, nice play.
Collapsing back with Schellenberg.
Broadnex not doing what Jackson did, and that is putting up the jumper. So Schellenberg wisely played off him and intercepted the pass.
That's the initial turnover in this game against Georgetown with 5:21 left in the first half. And here is Smith going for the steal, and a foul on Christie. He tried to reach back in and reclaim the ball.
Gene Smith so quick, so strong. Christie, only a freshman, really doesn't have the body to go up against a guy like Smith.
Third team foul against the Dayton Flyers. And this is Dalton, who started the ball game, the junior at 6'11", and Pat Ewing at the 5:17 mark sits down. We mentioned Georgetown with their first turnover, Dayton with 5.
Let's see where the offense is going to come from. You've got Wingate out there that's a scorer. He's really the only real scorer on the floor. Brodnick can shoot okay.
Did shoot it well then. Good one with the rebound.
It's really not a good offensive lineup on the floor right now for Georgetown.
Young with Ewing out of there goes right at Dalton, and Dalton commits the foul. That's the first on Ralph Dalton. You can imagine Don Donaher would like to catch up some of this ground now with Ewing sitting on the bench. They're down by 6 at the 4:46 mark. The all-time winningest coach at Dayton, Don Donaher. Captain of the Dayton Flyers, and he beat a Georgetown team in 1952.
And you can see the change in the lineup here. Jackson coming back in. John Thompson realizing he has to get another scorer out there on the floor.
Ed Young at the line, the sophomore from Upper Sandusky, Ohio. He's a good free throw shooter, shooting 76% for the year. He has 7 points. This shot, you might recall, Billy, that beat DePaul. Remember that?
What's interesting about it, he said he had a dream that that was going to happen. It all came true for him.
Young hits them both. Dayton's hit their 2 attempts at the line. It's a 4-point game. 4 minutes, 46 seconds to go here at UCLA. Coming in for halftime, a look at Virginia's road. Brent Munter will have scores and highlights of that. It was played earlier in the Midwest region. Moved to the Final Four for the 3rd straight year.
Team Olajuwon looked very good. Houston making some free throws down the wire, Gary.
Dayton shooting 55%, and Billy, as I mentioned, this year Georgetown has held their opponents to less than 40%, which is a record pace.
You know, the last time Wake Forest lost in the Midwestern Final, the team that beat them was Marquette, that eventually went on and won the national championship in Al McGuire's last game.
Pat Ewing has come back into the Georgetown lineup. Chapman going for the steal. Michael Jackson.
He squares up on that jump shot beautifully. They haven't been able to get a lob into Ewing, and I know he's waiting for one. Young's doing a good job getting body position.
He tried one earlier, remember, and it was too high for him. He couldn't come up with it. 4 minutes left in this first half.
Young beating him to the spot.
Wingate's the only guy other than Ewing to start every ball game for Georgetown.
The Goodwin played pretty good defense there, trying to help out on Ewing, but he couldn't do both.
That was too telegraphed. Ewing had a lot of time to come up defensively. Here's that play.
Young just couldn't get back in time. He had to go the length of the court. Not only was that pass telegraphed, but it showed you how quick Ewing is to get to the spot.
10 points for Ewing.
He's all the way back on this press playing safety man, but he can come up and intercept a lob pass.
After cutting it to 4, it's back to an 8-point lead now for Georgetown. Tony looked like he might have had a shot.
Chapman's been a little quiet. What Dayton may have to do is put Chapman down there to go against Ewing when he gets the ball against the press.
Look at Ewing, clear out of the top of the circle. That shows you his range defensively.
His range is anywhere on half court. I mean, he just covers it all. Has great instincts for defense also. Nice fake by Schellenberg.
Chapman trying to create, and Jackson commits the foul. Michael Jackson with his first, and that'll be the 16th foul against John Thompson's team.
You know, Chapman has done something that I never heard of in college basketball before. He was the MVP of the same tournament 4 years in a row, the UD Classic tournament, their Merrill Lynch tournament, which is impossible when you really think about it. The guy to have 2-game tournament, be the MVP 4 years in a row in the same tournament.
Well, he was a relatively unknown player, really, before this tournament started. Now he's become more of a household name with his performance, the 41-point game against Oklahoma.
And he's been guarding centers, playing on the inside. He's 3 for 4 so far today. He's just not getting that many offensive opportunities.
But he is so unselfish, Billy. He will not force the issue.
Nope. William Alders that shot.
Rebound by Wingate.
And gets down on the break.
Jackson into the big man.
So nice.
2:19 left in the first.
I don't think John Thompson's gotten enough credit for how much he's developed Patrick Ewing as a total basketball player.
He's been criticized for that in some circles, but
I don't know by anybody that knows anything about basketball, though. I mean, Patrick Ewing is developing in every aspect of the game. His passing, shot blocking, rebounding, offensive shot selection. Look at that pass.
Jackson again. He's not hitting that shot, and Chapman soaring up.
One-hand snatch right out of the city.
You could hear the crowd buzz after that one. That's the kind of player he's been this entire tournament. So impressive. Here's creating a little bit, but again, trying to find that open man. Tony's not hitting his shot. There's Young. Rejected goaltending on Ewing. Young is playing a strong game today. He has 10 points.
Well, what Dayton's doing, and I believe it's a very wise move by Don Donaher, they're playing an open middle, and therefore you get a guy like Young is able to go outside and play his normal forward position. They realize it's foolish to post him up, down, and low against a guy like Patrick Ewing.
So after getting an 8-point lead, again, Dayton has cut it back to 4. I'm sorry, 6 now, 30-24. But about the time you think that they're going to really make a move, Billy, all of a sudden, Dayton fights their way back into it.
It's an interesting little move by Georgetown, pulling it out, going a little 4 corners here against Dayton. How they trying to work it down that last shot of the half.
Isn't he the time?
Fans don't like it. John Thompson slides him in, not because of the fans, he just wants to change.
And Chapman blocks the shot. And it's broken up by Schellenberg. The quickness of Dayton defensively.
Great job by Chapman defensively. Jackson really made his break so far from the basket. It gave Dayton time to regroup. Georgetown goes 1-3-1 now.
They're checking to see if they want to go for one, and Don Donaher says, no, attack him. Go in there. Go after it.
I think it'd be smart to go for one. Don't give Georgetown a chance to score again and get it down to have it no less than 6 and maybe down to 4. They need one shot here.
Now he's yelling play number 2 in, so now they are going to do what you suggested.
We've got Chapman outside, setting up Young. Now they have to move the ball inside the hash mark here because they're behind.
Well, that's where Chapman is standing, Billy, just inside that hash mark.
Down to 12 seconds. Surrounding the zone, Chapman breaks to the middle, loses it.
And that'll be a foul on Tony with only 3 seconds left.
That's the worst thing you can do is foul him in that situation. Probably Georgetown couldn't make it the length of the court in those 3 seconds.
They will not be shooting a free throw, however, because they're not in the 1-and-1, so they'll inbounds from the side.
And I'll back up. That was the smartest thing you could do.
You had me looking over here at Mike Swanson, our statistician. I thought you knew something I didn't.
Now, neither team getting in any foul trouble in this game. So, matter of fact, what do they have now, Swanee? Would be a good idea to foul again. Just don't let Georgetown get in any kind of a shot.
That was the 4th team foul.
Foul again right here.
Jackson.
You could foul on the dribble, and all they would get is the ball back out of bounds.
And so at halftime, Georgetown, the top seed in the West, with a 30-24 lead. CBS's sports coverage of the NCAA basketball championship will continue after this commercial message and a word from your local station.
I think you have to have a tough skin.
In my view, the ideal official is one that's not noticed himself.
You're not concerned about doing something for the coaches or the fans or anything. You want to please the kids, and as long as you can do that, you have it made in the game of basketball as far as I'm concerned.
Regardless of circumstances, regardless of intimidating factors, regardless of where the game is played, regardless of who is playing, you have a job to do, and you have to just keep your mind set on doing that one single thing, which is be fair to both teams.
The preceding message provided by the NCAA.
One spot to be filled here on the road to the Final Four. And, of course, I want to remind everybody that we start next Saturday in Seattle at 3:30 Eastern Time. That's the key thing to remember, 3:30 Eastern Time. Now, Virginia against Houston is one matchup. You know, we all remember that Virginia beat Indiana and they got past Syracuse. But you've got to turn the clock back to the start of this tournament. The unseeded Cavaliers had 2 very close calls against Iona and Arkansas. Sometimes you forget what a team does in the early action. Remember this? Time was running down here against Iona. Othell Wilson put up the shot with 5 seconds left. They had the lead. Rory Grimes, then of Iona, he brought the ball the length of the court, and he draws the foul. Now, Grimes hit his first free throw. Could have tied it. Could have sent it into overtime. But he missed it, and Virginia now goes to the next round. And they were an underdog against Arkansas. Late in the game, Othell Wilson hit the first of 2 free throws, and he tied it in regulation at 49. Then they went to overtime. Joe Klein stole the ball for the Razorbacks. He was fouled by Wilson. Made his first free throw. Then he hit the second, and Arkansas led at 51-49. Cavaliers came back down the floor. Carlisle got it to Othell Wilson. He hit the corner jumper, and it was tied at 51. Arkansas turned the ball back over, and they came down with time running out, and this was the winning opportunity for them. The shot is partially blocked by Alvin Robertson, but the ball goes to Rick Carlisle, and Carlisle hits the jumper. Virginia won that game, and then they beat Syracuse and finally Indiana. But except for those 2 very close finishes, we wouldn't be having the Cavaliers out in Seattle, but they survived the tough going early. And we will continue now on the road to Seattle in just a moment.
At halftime, a 6-point lead for the Hoyas of Georgetown over the Flyers of Dayton. And Billy, interesting comparison between the 2 centers in this game, Pat Ewing and Ed Young. They both have 10 points, but they've gone about it in a different way.
Well, they really have. And Young, as we pointed out, although he is listed as the center on this team, is really a forward, and he's playing as a forward. Don Donaher has done a wise thing. He's playing an open offense, and he doesn't have a man posting up against Ewing. So Young's been able to step outside and do a good job. And for Patrick Ewing, he's been extremely patient. He's done an excellent job inside defending, and he also has 10 points, although Georgetown hasn't been able to go to the lob but 2 times so far today.
One of the things that's really helped this Georgetown club has been able to score off of turnovers in the ballgame. They have 8 points in the game.
That's right. They've really created the turnovers, which they do all the time, Gary. Anytime you're holding the club down under 40% in shooting, as they've done on an annual average so far this year, you create turnovers, and they score well off the turnovers.
Speaking of averages, Roosevelt Chapman in the first half shot the ball only 4 times. Now, he's averaging close to 17 shots a game.
Well, what's been so tough on him, he not only has a great defender playing him, in many cases Billy Martin when Georgetown's in the man-to-man, but then he has to go head-on-head right on into Patrick Ewing. Here's Goodwin coming down. Good pass off the dribble. Chapman goes inside. He does a great job just hanging in the air and sliding to the side. Gets the shot off on Patrick Ewing.
Well, this ball club, Dayton, has shot the ball much better than you might anticipate. They're shooting 52% against the best defense in the country against field goal percentage. I guess the other factor is there's no foul difficulty. No one had over 1 foul in the first half.
Well, and we pointed out Dayton starters play just about every minute of every game for their team. The same thing held true in the first half as 4 starters went the entire 20 minutes.
Dayton coming out here, they started out very solid. They were not in awe of this Georgetown team. They found themselves down by as many as 8 points. You just get the feeling that when's it all going to come apart on them? But it hasn't thus far.
Gary, as I said, this is a very well-coached team. They're extremely well-disciplined. They play solid in concept as well as style of play. And I don't think they'll come in unglued. It's just a matter of, are they up against superior personnel today?
Georgetown used a 12-2 streak in the middle of that first half to pull away in the ball game. John Thompson. John Thompson's team 31-3, the second 30-win season that he has had at Georgetown, and he is looking today for his 260th win for the Hoyas.
Well, we mentioned that Don Donner is going to be an assistant coach to Bobby Knight in the Olympics. John Thompson in 1976 was Dean Smith's assistant coach in the Olympics. So
then they met in the finals in 1982, and there was a real story. There's been so many stories developing, and the way the Final Four is shaping up right now, it's going to be something. 30-24, our score here. A final team to be decided in the battle for Seattle. Here is Wingate. Wingate in the first half had 4 rebounds.
And back to the man-to-man defense. Dayton did switch into a little zone in the first half, but that's primarily a man-to-man team.
It's a different starting group than opened the ball game. Smith was in there instead of Fred Brown right now.
Ewing again with excellent passing, seeing the open man.
Tony with the rebound. Bill Martin has also started the second half for the Hoyas. Again, as Billy pointed out, they don't consider anybody being starters until the final minutes of the game. That's the chief lineup.
The key is who finishes the game for Georgetown, not who starts. Dayton being very patient here at the outset of the second half. They'd like to drill one inside.
Chapman, he's got the shot.
You see what he did there, Gary? He used his body to keep Billy Martin away from him. He really does that well. He goes up in the air, he's square, but he used his backside, he uses his elbows and his hips just to keep the defender away.
He's had strong second halves throughout this tournament. Let's see if he can do it again today.
Oh, good point.
There's Tony.
Tony came from blind side on Ewing that time.
Trying to draw the foul was Jackson to no avail, and all of a sudden it's a two-point game.
There's a foul called on Chapman. A little elbows being thrown on the inside. Both players looking at each other going down. Chapman got caught.
Chapman committing the personal foul, his first. We mentioned in that first half there were only 10 fouls. No one had more than one.
Chapman still looking over at Patrick Ewing. He's very disturbed.
This Georgetown team, they've riled up some clubs this year.
That's to put it mildly.
The Hammer and Hoyas.
Oh, Patrick Ewing wide open, and he got pushed by Young. No call.
Young ran into his back. It was like a brick wall.
And John Thompson really getting on that referee, saying, my man's been cleared out inside.
Here's Smith, and Tony's got to be very careful of Gene Smith. Here's the double team, but they play it well.
Gene Smith, a great one-on-one defender. But I saw Pearl Washington in the Big East tournament turn him inside out, which is really saying something to the Pearl.
Good one off to Ed Young. Young was 4 of 5 from the field in that first half.
Notice how Patrick Ewing moves out.
Tony is not shooting well in this ball game. He's been trying to hit that outside shot. He was 1 of 5 in the first half.
Look at Casey Ewing just putting a big lockout on Young.
Into Patrick. Kicks it to Jackson. Wingate. Up in his face was Goodwin. Rebound Chapman. That's 3 for Roosevelt. Oh, look at this ball handling. And taken away. Here comes Smith. Chapman back. It'll be off of Chapman.
Now we have a man down in the center of the court.
That's Tony.
That's Chapman, isn't it?
No, it's
Tony.
Tony. He really hit hard. I did not see him hit, but I heard it. I could hear the impact as he crashed to the floor. That was away from where the action really was because Chapman was going after the ball. And at center court, here is Tony.
Here we see ball stolen. Smith going after it. Let's see what happens right here. Oh, he just got hit.
Michael Jackson with a body block.
Yep. There was nothing intentional right there. He just got hit with a good forearm shiver, but he's all right back out on the court.
It was just a big splat when he hit the floor.
Oh, Billy Martin really causing trouble on the throw-in.
So Dayton inbounds. I thought maybe Chapman had touched the ball last on that flurry, but they said that Georgetown did.
It's a tough job for Schellenberg going up against Gene Smith. Schellenberg really a second guard.
Smith, stay with you. Won't he put his numbers on yours all the way?
He also got in a pretty good slap on Schellenberg's face right there.
Here's Chapman again. Patrick.
The sky belongs to Patrick Ewing, doesn't it? Oh, Ewing does a good job getting position, and Georgetown not hitting him with the ball.
There's Martin. He got it in. They collapse on him. Jackson from outside. He's got to have that one. Martin high and a rebound on Ed, or a foul rather on Ed Young. That's his second. Martin has impressed me with his leaping ability.
He's an excellent leaper.
Second personal on Young. The tallest man in their starting lineup at 6'7". Now they do have on the bench 2 6'9" players. Neither of whom have been in this ball game. Fred Brown will come in for Georgetown.
Well, remember that Jeff Zern had the big game against LSU. Came in off the bench and did a nice job giving him a little bit more size on the inside. We may see him before this one's over.
32-28. Georgetown with the lead. 16.5 minutes to go.
Ewing's been getting good position. Georgetown gets in the ball. He kicks it on out, but Georgetown not hitting the outside jumper. If you're Dayton, you've got to give up something, and wisely they're taking away the inside game, and there's the outside jumper again.
Jackson buries that one. Michael Jackson with 12 points.
That's a replay of what's been going on, but if you're Don Donaher, you've got to give it up, so see if they can make some jump shots.
Schellenberg is doing a very good job of handling the pressure. Smith last time, this time Jackson.
Well, you notice when Georgetown presses man-to-man, they just clear out for Schellenberg.
Good one. He was intimidated by Ewing. They kick the ball, and Dayton will inbounds.
People don't realize how quick Patrick Ewing is. He stands under the basket. When the ball goes on the wing, he's right out there defending man-to-man.
He's got that great timing, too, Billy. There's a lot of guys that can jump and are big, but they don't have that instinct to come across the lane like he does to block the shot. Schellenberg had a notion, and they'll reset it.
It's fun to watch a team like Dayton, so well drilled in the fundamentals of the game. Good passing. They keep good spacing on their passing. Very patient.
Well, they have been a story in the West. It started in Salt Lake City, continued here on the campus of UCLA.
It's a team you have to beat, Gary. They don't beat themselves. And I believe that's why they've been able to advance in this tournament.
They were 18-10 coming into the tournament. Tony a long ways out, and he's just not hitting that long shot.
Tough to beat a team if you're going to stay on the perimeter all day. Young pushing away with Patrick Ewing on the inside, just trying to deny him the ball.
There's the steal attempt by Chapman. He pulls it off, but Schellenberg recovers.
And gives a little behind-the-back pass to the official.
That's what Chapman's done, Billy. Not only score, but the big defense, the big rebound at a most opportune time for the Squires team.
And Dayton still within striking distance.
They cut it to 4.
And one of the great games ever played in the history of the Western Regionals when they took UCLA in '74 to a triple overtime game. And that was the Bill Walton team that eventually lost to NC State down in Greensboro, North Carolina. So they're capable.
67, they were in the Final Four, that Don May club. Here is Jackson. Martin pushed off, got away with it.
Good quickness by Billy Martin inside.
Martin with 4 points, back to a 6-point lead.
Thompson's starting to walk that sideline. He's starting to get a little nervous about how, no matter what his club does, Dayton stays in the ballgame.
Tony, good job on the pressure. Chapman is fouled. Bill Martin fouled him. That'll be his second personal foul.
Notice how Tony dribbled in, but instead of penetrating down and getting in trouble or drawing the charge, he pulled up at the foul line and then sat right down on his bounce pass to make sure it went underneath the defender.
Here they come with that depth again. Reggie Williams, Gene Smith coming in, and Brown and Wingate will leave. Chapman, notice, Billy, when he shoots his free throws, he's right of center on the free throw line. Doesn't line up right in the middle like most people.
He's the only player in the nation last year that averaged over 20 points a game, shot over 50% from the field, and over 80% from the foul line.
Chapman shooting 76%. In this tournament, he's been averaging 30.7 points a game, almost 9 rebounds, and you saw the steal. He's done it all. And it's back to a 4-point game. Chapman very calmly nails both of them. This Dayton Flyers team is still very much alive. Georgetown is very strong academically. As an end result, they have an academic coordinator and assistant coach in Mary Finland.
Mary Finland does an excellent job, and she's really a house mother, a den mother, and everything else for these players. And in John Thompson's career as the head coach at Georgetown, he's recruited 45 players, and 43 of them have graduated. So that's not bad. There's Mary enjoying the game.
Mary sitting on the bench with the Hoya team, which right now leading by 4. And as you mentioned, John Thompson not all that comfortable.
You know, and when Mary speaks, everybody listens. That's press, that's Georgetown players, and everybody else. She's a tough lady.
Dean Smith in the corner to Reggie Williams, who came in during that last break in the action. Young continues to really shove and push on Ewing inside.
Chapman is really clever on the inside defensively. He's guarding Billy Martin, but he's really not guarding him. He's shading over to wherever Patrick Ewing is. So Martin's going to find himself open for a jump shot if he just tries to get clear a little bit. Now Chapman comes out to play him. There he sinks back in. There's Martin for the jump shot.
Boy, Chapman was out on him, wasn't he? Williams, Reggie Williams.
Chapman is kind of clever. He's in a little cat and mouse game right there, but Billy Martin realized he had the jumper.
Williams with 4 points in the game. 38-32, Georgetown.
Nice job by Tony against Gene Smith.
Chapman, nice pass to Goodwin. Goodwin blocked by Ewing. Taken over by Williams.
Oh, what a pass.
Gene Smith, and that'll be a charge on Smith.
That's a great pass by Williams, but when Smith realized he didn't have a lane to the basket, he'd have been better off pulling back out.
Get the feeling Reggie Williams would like to do that a lot. He just kind of under wraps a little bit.
Yeah, watch this beautiful blind pass. Looks one way, pass the other. Now there's where Gene Smith has got to realize he's got to go in for the shot. Not enough time to throw it back inside.
That's completely out of tempo, too, with what this Georgetown team is known for, but Reggie showing his athletic ability. 38-32, 12 and a half minutes to go. Young, reach in by Jackson. Young gets it out to Schellenberg, back to Young.
Ewing again, just as Chapman did, a little cat and mouse with Young.
And the crowd reacted. They saw Patrick loading up defensively on that one. Schellenberg can't handle it. Here comes Jackson.
Georgetown scores well off the turnover.
He might have been fouled before he put that shot up, and eventually there is a foul.
It's going to be another charge.
It's what it's going to be, I believe.
Yep.
Jackson.
What you find is any well-drilled team, as Dayton is, Gary, makes the transition from offense to defense very, very well. So it's hard to get that kind of a drive-in layup against them on the break.
John Thompson is in disbelief on that last play. He cannot believe Jackson was called for charging. And on Michael Jackson, that's his second personal. Third team foul against the Hoyas.
Gene Smith using a little hands. Tony doing a nice job again.
A little pushing inside. Goodwin almost knocked down when he went through the lane. You go inside, you better protect yourself against this Georgetown team.
Young had the jump shot again. He's got to start looking for it.
Chapman one-on-one. Martin got him. Bill Martin committing a personal foul.
Well, I noticed that Jerry West was in the lineup. Jerry West was here today watching these two lineups, and Chapman has a lot of what Jerry West used to have. That little pump fake. He gets the man in the air, then he goes up for the jump shot, and either hits the jumper going for a three-point play, or he has an opportunity to go to the line. He's about as good as any college player I've seen at this in a long, long time.
He made another point. He uses his body so well to protect that. Remember, Jerry used to do that when he'd come inside. Chapman, after hitting two in a row, misses that one. That's the first miss in the game for Dayton at the line.
Chapman this year has hit 76% of his free throws. Been to the line 211 times.
Martin will leave because he committed his third personal foul, and you saw Graham come in for him. 38-32, 11:47 left, and you can see Friday night what Chapman did. He had 41 earlier against Oklahoma, which is the most points since Jack Gibbons of Kentucky in that Final Four of 1978.
That's a big game against Duke. Hit everything in sight down in the baseline. Kentucky will be back again for another shot at it for Joe Hall.
Chapman with 13 points now. There it is to Ewing, but Young anticipated it beautifully. Now watch this ball handling by Chapman.
Great job by Young that time to time it perfectly.
A steal. Williams, 8th turnover against Dayton.
Georgetown, in my opinion, Gary, has got to figure out a way to get Patrick Ewing in the offense. He's been very, very quiet here in the second half. Every time they feed him, everybody's collapsing. Maybe they can get a lob available. And Chapman's helping on a lob. There it is. Oh! There it is.
And we have a foul also. That's the first field goal of the second half by Ewing. He has 14 points.
I guess they were reading my mind a little bit there. But you could feel this coming. Patrick Ewing hadn't touched it in a long time to score. Excellent timing on Ewing's part. Goodwin really had no chance whatsoever.
Had a feeling of finality about that, didn't he, when he put it away?
But Gary, what I think that Georgetown could do is to pull Billy Martin out and make Chapman go with him. Therefore, you'd have Ewing alone with a player like Goodwin who doesn't have that opportunity to get up on the backside as well as Chapman does to help out on Young.
Schellenberg leaves. Christie checks in. That last foul was on Goodwin, his first. Patrick Ewing now is going to leave after that three-point play, and Ralph Dalton will come in.
And you'll see probably Georgetown playing a lot more zone now with Dalton in the ballgame.
41-33, 11:04. You see the time. Dayton has played very well, but they still find themselves down by 8.
There they go, back in the zone with Dalton in the backside. Plays right in the middle. Obviously not as quick as Ewing, but still takes up a lot of ground in there.
Christie from outside. 3 Hoyas there. Dalton comes down with it.
Interesting crowd we have here today, too. A real good crowd, but not a lot of Georgetown or Dayton people here.
Reggie Williams is fouled. Goodwin committing the foul, his second. That'll be 4 team fouls against the Flyers. Almost they're sitting here in respect.
That's right. That's right. It's a very interesting kind of crowd, and it means that the players have to motivate themselves because they're watching basketball, but not a big rooting interest.
Got a feeling that may change, though, in Seattle when we get all those big guys there.
No question.
10.5 minutes left. Georgetown 2 years ago won the West Regional. Ended up in the championship game against North Carolina in New Orleans in the Superdome.
Setting a double screen that time for Reggie Williams, trying to get him in the offense.
Michael Graham, follow tip nicely by Dalton.
That's the bench for you. When a guy can come in and grab a big rebound and tap one in while Patrick Ewing's on the bench, getting that little 4 or 5 minute rest.
Biggest lead of the game now for the Georgetown Hoyas.
There's your defense. Dalton in the middle, a 2-1-2, and he goes all the way out to the corners.
Young missing, and again, 3 Hoyas are on the defensive boards. Williams against.
It might have to
Young.
be timeout.
Now a 12-point lead.
Dayton may have to go to a timeout to try to settle down this run. Chapman wanting the ball.
Again, they're doing this without Ewing in there very effectively.
So we've only had 1 substitute for Dayton today, and that's been Christie. That's been true to form.
Good one outside, and their outside shooting has deserted them.
Now, big basket that time for Dayton. They really need to get a timeout here and try to stop this onslaught a little bit.
9:19 to go, and Georgetown need not be in any hurry now.
Trying to get Reggie Williams a shot.
Here's Dalton.
Block.
Rebound Chapman.
Be a good time to try to get that ball to Chapman someplace in that zone.
In the second half, Billy, Georgetown has out-rebounded Dayton 11-3. Tony, there's what he's been looking for. He hasn't been able to hit that one. He was 2 for 8 before that last shot.
Like Georgetown's patience here. Here comes Patrick Ewing, check back into the game.
See, Dayton's field goal percentage has really slipped. Georgetown's picked it up a little. There's a steal attempt by Chapman. He's everywhere. He batted it back, almost got away, but Dayton recovered.
What a smart play. He realized he could not get the ball and tapped it back to a teammate.
Tony again, they'll try the same thing, different result. Michael Graham. Graham is really a tough guy mentally and physically. He's a warrior inside with another rebound.
He's got that powerful body, takes up a lot of space. Georgetown spreading things out. Looks like they go a little 4 corners here. What's so tough in this offensive structure is Michael Jackson.
Well, in Dayton, as you say, with only 1 substitute, it's tough physically on you when you're tired, have to chase people.
Jackson's really tough. He puts the ball on the floor. He can penetrate well. Just going to use some clock. They've got Patrick Ewing on the sidelines. Might have been a push by Graham.
Graham misses the shot. And we have a foul.
It's going to be Williams.
Reggie Williams committing the foul. Ewing will come back in now. Dalton gave him some good minutes there. Dalton's been a very courageous player, battling back from severe knee surgery. Pat Ewing will come in, but right now we have a break. 7:31 left to go. Georgetown with a 10-point lead. Georgetown by 10. Of course, we're here to cover this game on television, but also CBS Radio is here. And 2 very familiar faces, Kurt Gowdy and Dick Stockton.
Well, Kurt's the president of the Hall of Fame of basketball, and the new Hall of Fame, they just started, dug that spade for the building of the new Hall of Fame up at Springfield, and all of you people that love basketball will be happy to know you can contribute to that Hall of Fame, and Kurt would like to hear from you. Tremendous guy. And Gary, I don't know how many NCAA Final Fours Kurt did, but it has to be the record.
He played in one, too, when he was a basketball player at Wyoming. So Georgetown by 10. And the rebounds we mentioned, you can see Georgetown, and that's to be expected. They're the second leading rebounding team in the country, out rebounding teams by about 10 a game, and that's what's happening here.
Nice job by Young coming back to beat the press. What we find right here is just very difficult to pull away from Dayton because they're so solid. But Georgetown, with those superior forces, have this game really in control.
They're having to become a perimeter team, and it's not gone that well for him. Young almost followed, and look at Smith, how strong he is. He just ripped the ball out of there. Jackson. Oh, Michael Graham, and Graham just ran over Tony, and Tony's hot.
Well, here is where Georgetown gets accused by many of being a bunch of thugs. And you see the shot goes up by Jackson. Graham comes through and slams it down. Now watch it.
Well, that is a little abusive.
No question about it. Totally unnecessary. And really should be penalized for that. Graham is the one, of course, that had the big controversy in the Big East game against Syracuse when he threw the punch
on Andre Hawkins.
And the entire situation got completely out of hand. The officials changed their ruling. Graham would have been thrown out of the ball game, was not, and Syracuse went on to lose that ball game in overtime.
Well, they did call a foul on Graham, his first.
They should have.
I'd say he got his money's worth. That's 16 fouls now against Georgetown.
That's a totally unnecessary play.
There's Chapman. He changed his shot because of Ewing. Rebound by Williams.
See, Ewing changed the shot, then got back there to alter the rebound also. And now we're going to see a little spread. And with Gene Smith, Reggie Williams, and Jackson.
Oh, Williams did not see the ball, and it's backcourt.
That was really Jackson's fault. Williams was turning around to try to go ahead and get his team organized. And John Thompson is saying it was his fault. That might be right, huh? John was talking to Reggie. Right, he was talking to Williams.
That Reggie's relieved to hear that.
Well, John Thompson has a great rapport with his players. He gets criticized for his actions about keeping them away from the press. But I haven't ever heard a John Thompson player complain.
And they've had that aura of secrecy about him all year long. Here's Goodwin. Goodwin has not been shooting well in this tournament, but he gets out when he has 4 points. Back to a 10-point lead. Look at Smith glide with the ball.
A very dangerous move to go ahead and turn the reverse.
Ooh, Graham put that one away. Goodwin was knocked down.
And awesome power of Georgetown really going to the hoop now. They can smell this victory.
Can you imagine in that first game, Georgetown and Kentucky in Seattle?
It'll be a war. Absolute war.
Tony in a lot of trouble there. He's got to get it out of there. 5:23 left.
Georgetown really playing that zone now. They've got Graham in there that's so active in the middle. Ewing back there to stop anything at midway.
Goodwin is really fouled. No, wait a minute.
No, it's going to be a foul on Goodwin, just hanging on into the traffic.
Well, that's his third, and not only did he get the foul, but he got beat up pretty good, too.
Well, he went into a mass of humanity.
Don Donner, I don't think, agreed. Let's see it.
Here he goes into a mass of humanity. Ewing just holds his ground. And there was the foul. The contact really was a good call. Goodwin really hit Patrick Ewing on the inside.
I think they're a little frustrated right now. Yep. Dayton has been beaten up a little bit physically and trying to retaliate, not in control that time.
Now as the defense moves out to handle Georgetown, look for Patrick Ewing to get open inside because Young's going to be with him all by himself.
4 minutes, 49 seconds left.
A little two-man stack on each side, delay game by Georgetown.
There's Jackson, quick move baseline. No basket.
Oh,
waved it off. Charging.
This is a very tough delay that Georgetown runs here, particularly with Jackson, who can rub off that double stack on either side.
That's 17 fouls now against Georgetown. We're going to have a timeout. 4 minutes, 39 seconds left in the game. Georgetown intimidating. The hammering Hoyas now are only 4:39 away from the Final Four. Gary Bender along with Billy Packer. You see the time and the score. Georgetown's bench, as anticipated, has been very effective. Now, Billy, that's even below what they've done this year. They've been providing about 30 points a game.
Well, we talked about the minutes played. By Georgetown's starting lineup, basically 40% of their starting time has come out of the starting five. But again, that's really not a fair indication because John Thompson starts a club that very seldom finishes a ball game. Big John.
John, of course, was a backup center to Bill Russell for the Boston Celtics, an All-American at Providence, won the NIT one year.
From the product of Washington, D.C. Played on one of the great teams of all time, Washington, D.C. high school history.
Excellent team. In fact, they have a record that still stands for consecutive wins, 55 in a row. Here's Harrell to check in, and Ewing got a piece of it. Rebound by Smith.
Now, Ewing came out that time about 12 feet to alter that shot. Just so quick.
The turnover will give it back to Dayton. The man who shot the ball, who just checked in, is Ted Harris, number 4, a junior.
Ted Harris said, I really was open, Coach. The only problem was kid number 33 came out after him.
Ted's dad, Chris, played for Dayton in the 50s. He had a brother, Dave, who played in the 70s for the Flyers. Hey, here's Ewing. He's doing it all, isn't he? He's even housekeeping here. Blocking shots, rebounding, scoring, and mopping the floor. What else can he do?
Not much. And the thing about him is he's got a great court attitude. He plays so hard, a great unselfish player. Doesn't ever worry about scoring.
Tony, that was partially blocked, and a foul will go on Harris.
He never had the ball. Patrick Ewing had it in his possession, and Harris just grabbed the arm.
16 fouls against Dayton, and David Wingate will come in for Georgetown.
You know, Gary, I think a record's going to be established. I should have done a little research on this, but there were 2 games today. It's hard to keep up with it. I bet you this is the lowest scoring totals that have ever been in the regional final games. There hadn't been a real game up there in the 80s and running up and down the court.
Well, it all started with that 38-37 win that Georgetown had over SMU. The game got a little scary, though, for Georgetown.
Well, you can't get to the finals without, in many cases, having to have at least one game where you take it to the wire. Nice backdoor cut.
Wingate blocked that time by Young. Here's Ewing. And a follow by Graham. And Graham, looks like he has a mission out there.
He's going to rip that rim right off.
Who's he mad at?
The only way he knows how to play. Another D.C. boy. A lot of local talent out there for John Thompson.
3.5 minutes left.
Because if you can get the best out of D.C. and Baltimore every year, you've got yourself a ball game.
That was kicked. Dayton will reset it. Williams will come in. You're talking about Baltimore. Here comes a player from the Baltimore area, Dunbar, and checking out will be another Dunbar player, and David Wingate. Play together. In fact, when Williams was playing on that Dunbar team, Billy, they won 59 straight.
We saw another one of their teammates today, Tyrone Bowles from Wake Forest.
That's goaltending. Ewing is saying, hey, wait a minute. It's hard to know when it is goaltending than the way he gets up there.
I remember in the championship game against North Carolina down in New Orleans how often he went up. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of the game, North Carolina had field goals, but never got any go through the basket. He was just swatting everything away.
Georgetown on the offensive boards is out rebounded Dayton 12-3.
Nothing statistically about this game surprised me, Gary. Really, you're talking about a very physical club going against a team that really didn't have physical players, just played so well together.
And the countdown to Seattle, 3 minutes away from the Final Four. Is
great play by Young.
And Ewing ran over Christie. Christie didn't even notice that his shoe tops as he was knocked down.
Oh, that's great hands by Young in that play to stop Ewing from getting a jam.
That puts him in the 1-1. 17 fouls against Dayton. 2:54 left. The foul going on Tony, his second.
Is Jackson going to the line, or is it going to be Smith? In either case, you've got a guy like Jackson who goes to the line in that delay game, an 82% free throw shooter. Let's see who it's going to be. Smith going to the line?
Yep. Gene Smith.
Shooting 60%.
Well, actually,
big defense.
It's really the only thing about this Georgetown team that isn't at superior standards. That's their free throw shooting. They're shooting 68% as a team.
What's amazing is their opponents are only shooting 65%. I guess that intimidation goes right out.
I think they wear you out, too. There's Christie from outside, the freshman. 10-point game again. Dayton, they've been gritty, determined this entire tournament, and they're not giving up yet. Look at this hustle by Christie.
Nice play by Williams, showing him how he can handle that ball.
You see the time left. Georgetown, the final piece to this Final Four puzzle. And Christie commits a foul. He's tired. He's been chasing all over the place.
You know, Gary, you talk about statistics, and Georgetown has played a very good schedule in addition to playing to the Big East. But when you just think about it, they're shooting 50% from the floor. Their opponents only 39%. They've shot 150 more free throws than their opponents. They're shooting, from a rebound standpoint, 10 more rebounds a game in their opponents and outscoring their opponents by 17. That's pretty awesome stats.
And that's the reason they're ranked number 2 in the nation. And they're going to be 32-3 after this ball game. Last time they had 30 wins was 2 years ago, and they got to that championship game.
And were defeated by a last-second shot by Michael Jordan.
I want to take this opportunity, Billy, to mention something that's kind of unique. Had a historical moment in NCAA history yesterday when Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg, Missouri, won both the men's and women's Division II titles in Springfield, Massachusetts. There's been some outstanding coaches at Central Missouri State. Joe B. Hall, Gene Bartow, through the years, I believe, have had the opportunity to coach the Mules.
Outstanding accomplishment. Of course, we've got the women's final next week on Sunday of the NCAA championship. But it was kind of interesting when the two girls from Southern Cal came out here and tried to shoot around to stir up the crowd. I wanted, at first, I didn't recognize who it was, and I said, my gosh, you can't do that during the NCAA tournament, come out and shoot on the court during a timeout situation. But it was used to promote, obviously, the Final Four next week of the women's championship.
That will be Sunday, and that'll be right here on this floor. 51-41, 2:24 left. Well, just looking ahead for a moment, if you'd allow us to do that, this team, Georgetown, will go against Kentucky, the Twin Towers of Bowie and Turpin against Ewing, and then Virginia. Kerry Holland without Ralph Sampson in the Final Four, and they're going to meet Akeem Abdul-Elijah. Now, they met earlier in the year. We had that game on CBS.
Two clubs that I believe will enter the Final Four in much better shape than they were at that time, though, Gary. That was one of the most disappointing days of the year for me. I didn't feel that was a game that either team played extremely well. The concentration was not there for Houston, and Virginia really wasn't very aggressive. So I think we'll see two entirely different ball clubs up in Seattle.
Michael Jackson. There's Graham going after it. Couldn't get it. But you saw his tenacity. Time left. Now 2:15. 10-point lead.
Clock becomes the opponent for Dayton right here. They've got to put up the ball a little bit quicker. Chapman wants it inside, but got Ewing and Graham sheltering him in there.
Christie misses, and Ewing is there again. Ewing with 7 rebounds. For the year, he's averaging over 10. Dayton has had only 4 field goals in the last 13 minutes.
Nice job by Jackson.
We'll take this opportunity to thank our statistician, Mike Swanson. He's been a busy man on this tournament trail, and he's done an excellent job as usual. There's Jackson on the steal, and Graham.
Oh, Graham doing the job. The only thing he was disappointed there, he didn't have a chance to take the rim down again.
Outside is Harris.
Good job. Harris calls the timeout.
One hasn't given up yet. They're still trailing by 10 with 1:28 left in the game. You talk about big men. We're going to have him at the Final Four. There's a big man himself, Michael Graham. The Dayton Flyers with 1:28 down by 10. They haven't been able to get it inside that 10-point mark now in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and Gary, the second half, it's been all Georgetown in regard to the domination. Dayton's just not able to get anything going offensively except outside perimeter shooting. Going against the superior inside game led by this man right here, Patrick Ewing.
Dayton, one of 2 independents to be invited to this NCAA tournament. The other, DePaul, and both of those independents did a very good job in tournament play.
The DePaul game was amazing. The way Wake Forest was able to pull that one out, it just seemed like it was impossible.
Chapman committing the foul. That'll be his second personal. Well, this Georgetown team did something this year, Billy, that hasn't been accomplished in that rugged Big East. They won both the regular season championship and the tournament title.
First time.
Yep.
First time a regular season #1 seeded team has been able to win the Big East championship.
A 7th straight 20-win season. Williams comes in, Wingate out.
Makes no difference.
Nope. It's
really
a
doesn't
different
make a
number.
difference.
That's about what it amounts to. And we're not belittling any of the players. It's just the depth that John Thompson has been able to create.
You know what's scary? They're all coming back. There are so many outstanding teams this year that are made up of underclassmen.
The guys are going to lose will be Fred Brown and Gene Smith. Real consequence to this team, and
they've provided good leadership, but there certainly are plenty of athletes to take their place.
Tony Martin there with yet another rebound, and he's going to be fouled. It'll be a 1-and-1. The foul will go against Harris.
And here's where the situation of the fouls and delaying of the game at the end of a ball game is something that the fans would rather not see in college basketball. There'd probably be something that could be done about it in time.
Bill Martin, who is like a sixth man. John Thompson still doing some coaching with a minute 9 to go. But Bill Martin at the line is their number 3 scorer, their number 2 rebounder, and has really accepted the position of not being a starter. Coming in, and John Thompson has sold him on the idea he's a better player in this role.
Well, Anthony Jones and Billy Martin, both the great DC forwards that came in. Anthony Jones transferred to UNLV. Will have a great career there, I'm sure. Harris just bombing from way out.
Georgetown has missed 4 front ends of a 1-and-1, and we're going to have a charge on Brodnax, who ran over Christie.
Good job by Christie. Brodnax not under control. Williams would have had a wide open shot. It's an interesting story about Anthony Jones going to UNLV. The man that orchestrated the whole thing was John Thompson, which is kind of unusual that a coach would say, hey, he wasn't placed where he wanted to be. He wasn't comfortable at Georgetown, and John Thompson helped take him out to UNLV to his buddy Jerry Tarkanian, and then I'm sure Anthony Jones will have quite a career there.
At the conclusion of this game, we'll be mapping the brackets, the trip to the Final Four, letting you know what's ahead next week from the Kingdome in Seattle. Brent will be back to New York, and we'll be interviewing the coaches and players. Georgetown now is 57 seconds away from Seattle.
Sure, there was nice release by Dayton saying, win or lose, the town's really going to salute these guys when they return, which is a real nice thing. They've really been a quality ball club and a quality coach team for the town of Dayton.
Ed Young committing the personal foul. They're disappointed, but no one expected them to be this far. In fact, on that first game, remember in Salt Lake City against LSU, their cheerleaders and their band drove 34 hours from Dayton to get out there. Not really, I think, anticipating they were going to be there that long. They won that. Then the next week, they flew them out. They figured they couldn't make another long trip to the West Coast.
Well, you get a few bucks for going. Time to spend some. You know, like Al always used to say, those Catholic schools don't get rid of those bucks too easily, but
kind of rubbed off on you, too.
Well, he was the AD at Marquette, so he got that budget going in his coffin.
I don't know what this Williams is, but he keeps coming back about every 2 or 3 times that the ball is dead. They keep filtering back and forth. They're back and forth. This time Jackson will leave the game.
Well, John Thompson's putting a little defensive club into the game now, and he brings Jackson back in the game for offense, but this game is over.
Jackson with 14 points sits down. Here's Chapman against Ewing. That was a desperation heave. And here's Christie.
Dayton's still battling.
They sure are, but we're going to have a foul against Dayton.
Christie, these are tough kids. They're not backing down to anybody. John Thompson wants to see him start ripping off the rebound. I wonder if Guy Lewis and John Thompson, I wonder if they get their towels laundered by the same guy. Look at that one John's got. I believe guys are laundered a little bit.
Well, his are more decorative, though. Guy Lewis with a polka dot towel, he's a little more fashionable maybe than John. That foul was on Young. That would be his 4th.
We will see the big men in Seattle. It could be one of the great Final Fours of all time, with all of that size going against each other.
Well, you've got another Cinderella story. We had North Carolina State a year ago. You got to put Virginia in that role. The other 3 were expected possibly to get there. DePaul, Houston, they one of the 2. They figured to come out of the Midwest.
Quite a difference in emotion here today, Gary, than what took place yesterday. Here, going according to form with Georgetown, everybody expecting them to come out of the West. They've been kind of a workmanlike job. Yesterday down there in Atlanta, it was just amazing how the Virginia kids had that emotion, having played without Sampson this year and getting it to the Final Four.
You wonder what Ralph Sampson is thinking as he watched that game. You know, he was so happy for him, I'm sure.
I bet you he had a tear or two in his eyes because he had been playing with those kids. And Everybody remembers last year when NC State beat them in that last second Super Bowl game.
Well, you know, the tape we had that Brent had on earlier showing Virginia, very similar. They were winning those games. They beat Arkansas at the buzzer.
Right.
Iona missed those free throws. And you see the game against Indiana when they survived the last shot. That's what North Carolina State did a year ago.
Well, they really had only one convincing in terms of margin triumph to get to the Final Four, and that was against Syracuse. Syracuse just had one of those days when nothing went right.
Terry Holland has to be vindicated if he needed that at all. They raked him all over the coals for not winning it with Ralph Sampson, and now without Sampson, he's in the Final Four.
We got a smile out of Patrick Ewing there. He looked over and started breaking out in a smile, which he has a very infectious one. He loves to win.
59-45. Well, you'll be talking to the Georgetown coach and outstanding player at the conclusion of this.
Chapman showing some class there, just passing the ball off.
Christie just keeps coming after him. He shoots it through again.
McIver tried to bring. They called a timeout just to stop the clock, but they want to continue to play. Now, Don Donaher said, let's play. It's the official's job to get Georgetown right back out. Sure.
That's their option. They do not have to take the full break. Let's take this opportunity to recognize some people. Our executive producer, Kevin O'Malley, our producer of this game, Bob Stinner. We really appreciate Bob. I know he's gone through some difficult times with the passing away of his father. And Bob, we really appreciate your being here. Peter Bleckner, our director, as we wrap up the trip to Seattle, and with 3 games remaining, the semifinals on Saturday, and then, of course, the championship game on Monday night. I want to say something else, too. Michael Burks, one of the producers for CBS, who's under the weather right now in a hospital here in Los Angeles. He was working for us, and we just wish Mike the best of luck to get well and get ready for another season. Got to get these guys healthy out here.
That's right. California been too good for some of them, I guess. Michael, a real talent.
He is.
Here's Reggie Williams, another real talent. And Georgetown has been, they came to work today and they did the job that was required of them. Excellent basketball team.
Chapman, move, but he still can't shake Ewing. And that kind of epitomizes the Dayton team, doesn't it? They've stuck in there, hung in there. There's Young able to get 2 points, and that's going to end it.
Good luck to you, sir.
Georgetown, the final piece to the puzzle. We have the Final Four teams all poised and ready as they defeat the Dayton Flyers 61-49. Let's go back now to New York and Brett Musburger.
All right, Gary, thank you. And next Saturday, Georgetown takes on Kentucky. But first, a word about Dayton. The Flyers did a marvelous job, didn't they? They beat 3 teams. Today, they simply ran up against too much talent. John Thompson takes the Hoyas back to the championship. Now, our Chevrolet players of the game here, the West Regional Final, Roosevelt Chapman of Dayton, and, of course, Patrick Ewing of Georgetown. Roosevelt Chapman, what an interesting senior now out of Brooklyn, and he's only 6'4". A lot of discussion about how he might do in the NBA. He reminds some of Jack Gibbons, but others say he handles the ball better than Gibbons. He will be a star when he gets into professional basketball. Patrick Ewing, of course, he's still got another year to go there at Georgetown. And from all his statements, he's going to stay right there from John Thompson and finish up his school at Georgetown. And, of course, that is superb news for John and the school down there and its many fans. Now, let's set the scene for the Final Four next Saturday afternoon. We're going to start at 3:30 Eastern Time here on CBS. And our first game will be Virginia taking on Houston, a rematch of a game played earlier this year, won by Houston by 9 points. But as Billy Packer pointed out, both of these teams are playing better basketball right now than they were at that point in the season. Then the second game, and what a rumble this is going to be. Kentucky against Georgetown. All those thoroughbreds against Patrick Ewing, coached by John Thompson. The winners are standing by right now with Gary and Billy, so let's send you back to the Pauley Pavilion. Gary?
Okay, I'm ready to bring 2 guys down to size. John, congratulations, and Patrick, same to you. Terrific job out there today, John. It's a very difficult team to prepare for because they're so solid.
Extremely difficult, Billy. I think he does as well as anybody that I've seen this year with the talent that he has, and it's an extremely difficult team to get away from. I watched a lot of films with people with 10-point leads against them that they cut it in, and it made me extremely nervous.
Of course, you use your entire bench like you always do. It's who finishes up the games for Georgetown. That's the key. The big fellow over here did another great job.
No, he did an excellent job. I saw him get a little tired around 11 minutes to go, and I wanted to give him rest for coming down the stretch, and I took him out. But I tell you, Billy, when he's sitting beside me, I even get more nervous, so I had to get him back out there quickly. Michael Jackson has had a great tournament also, I think.
Patrick, I know how much you love to play and how hard you play in a basketball game. Your concentration is amazing. I thought you guys did a very workmanlike job today. It seemed like you had a game plan and stuck right with it.
For the third straight year, the Houston Cougars are going to the Final Four. 2 years ago in New Orleans, they were beaten in the semifinals by North Carolina. A year ago, they lost in the championship game on a Monday night in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to North Carolina State. Today, they beat past Wake Forest. 68-63 was the final score. Midwest region, the arena in St. Louis. Wake Forest went man-on-man. Watch Olajuwon get the ball to Ricky Winslow, and the freshman gets it done. Carl Tacey stuck with that man-to-man. Wake Forest gets to run. They are tough. Watch Delaney Rudd get here to Anthony Tichy for the layup. Wake Forest had its opportunities, especially late in the game. Houston, though, is awesome on that offensive board. Anders missing the jumper. Young keeps it on the boards, and here it comes by Slamma-Jamma right there. Olajuwon tried to set up low, and he was simply awesome. No way you can stop plays like that. And Guy Lewis says, just go to the whip right now. And twice with a chance to tie it. Wake Forest turned the ball over. Here's Young taking it to the other end. And Guy Lewis loved it.
Well, I'll tell you, if I'd have been a spectator, I would have enjoyed it, but I got to admit, it wasn't all that much fun. They're a hard ball club to beat. I knew they would be. I watched them the other night. Of course, they beat a great DePaul team, and we just knew they were going to be awful hard to beat, and we weren't disappointed in that fact.
Now, in the first semifinal next Saturday afternoon at 3:30, Houston will be favored over Virginia. The reason why? They played earlier this year. Yes, the game was in Houston, but the Cougars won it convincingly. Let's show you some highlights from that. There was an ugly moment in that game. The final score was 74-65. The Cougars with the victory. Watch Alvin Franklin dribble over midcourt and throw the alley-oop here to Ricky Winslow. And there is Virginia coming right back down. And Guy Lewis saying, let's get going now on defense. And here is Young. Now, as he dished the ball off, perhaps you saw somebody fall at midcourt. That was Olden Polynice. Now watch right here. Olajuwon is coming down with Polynice, and he throws a nasty elbow, and the Virginia center goes down. However, Hakeem Olajuwon apologized for the incident. Now watch Alvin Franklin come down the baseline for the Cougars, and this time it was Michael Young. Now Young will be the player that Terry Holland has to be mindful of because he hit him with 22 points the last time that these two teams met. And again, Houston was a winner, 74-65, but certainly the Cavaliers are playing much better than they were that day, and so too, for that matter, would be Houston. Now, in the other semifinal, it will be Kentucky against Georgetown. A short time ago, Georgetown qualified for the Final Four with that victory over the Dayton Flyers. And so now it's the Twin Towers, Turpin and Bowie, going up against the big fella from Georgetown, Patrick Ewing, their splendid 7-foot center. Here are some of the highlights now from the Dayton game. The Flyers jumped out to an early lead. Roosevelt Chapman, with a splendid move inside, got to the glass. But Georgetown came right back and established control of this game. Patrick Ewing picking off the pass. Michael Jackson, who you heard John Thompson say had played extremely well. And then in the second half, it was simply all Georgetown and the big men down low. There was no way. Ewing, when you drop back on him, he'd dish it back out to the outside, and the Hoyas would take it to you from the perimeter. And again, Ewing setting up in behind his man. They tried to front him as they did that time, and they got it up over the top. And Patrick Ewing and John Thompson now, they are going back to the Final Four. They will be matched against Kentucky. I would make that a pick-em game. I rather imagine Georgetown might be a very slight favorite. And we will continue here on the road to the Final Four in Seattle in just a moment. Don Donaher, he did a splendid job with Dayton, won 3 times before he was finally eliminated. Gary and Billy had a chance to talk to him, so let's go back out live to the Pauley Pavilion. Gary?
Georgetown defeats Dayton 61-49. They're on their way to Seattle, but the surprising team of the West, the Dayton Flyers, Coach Don Donaher. Coach Donaher, just an outstanding season.
Well, thanks, Gary. You know, it's always sad when it ends, but our gang stayed in there a good while.
Well, when you headed to Salt Lake City, did you anticipate getting to this East or West Regional Championship?
No, to be honest, you know, coaches tend to be a little pessimistic, and we really didn't envision that, but you never know what a bunch of fighters are going to do, and our kids certainly did a great job.
I love your ball club. You were, in really all intents and purposes, starting 4 guards and a forward.
Yeah, and Georgetown's a bad team to go at with that kind of lineup. Might be better with about 4 linebackers and a couple of safeties.
One of the things that's going to be nice for you, though, from here on out, you can watch players that you and Bobby and George are going to have an opportunity to work with on the Olympic Club.
Well, that'll be very interesting, Billy, and I understand that out at Seattle there'll be a meeting and that process will begin, so we can drool a little bit.
Wouldn't be bad to have a guy like Patrick Ewing anchoring things on the inside. He's tough to play against, isn't he?
Yes, he is, Billy. He's a force, you know, and we had to concentrate so much on him, and you know, he doesn't force anything. His judgments are so good. He's a great player.
Well, congratulations. You're a great compliment to the coaching profession.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Georgetown with this win. We're back live here at Pauley Pavilion at UCLA, and with us is Roosevelt Chapman. What a tremendous tournament you had.
Well, I really just came out and really just tried to do my best. We were glad to be in the NCAA, and it was a year of dreams for us, and we were just happy just to be here.
You were the Cinderella team.
That's right. They tried to make us an instant replay of last year's North Carolina State. We're glad to be a part of it, and we're glad to come this far.
Well, that elbow wasn't quite as easy today with those horses from Georgetown. That's quite a team, wasn't it?
That's right. Sure was quite a team. Big Pat Ewing. They had a lot of size. They pushed the ball a lot. And it was just a team that they just really outplayed us.
Well, I know the people from Dayton are going to welcome you guys. Win or lose, you fellas have done a tremendous job for that city and your university.
That's right. We came a long way. We was a Cinderella team. It was underrated in every game, and it just be a privilege just to come out every game and just to be a part of NCAA.
Best of luck to you in your pro career.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Roosevelt Chapman led this Dayton team. Now let's go back to New York and Brent Musburger.
All right, Gary, thank you. We will continue now on the road to Seattle in just a moment. Get there.
I thought that Don Donaher had a good comment. He says when you play Georgetown, you better get some linebackers.
Well, you know, Gary, he's got a truthful statement there. But when you think about Kentucky going up against Georgetown, we had Houston against Georgetown. I really believe that the matchup will be a tougher job for Ewing than it will be for Kentucky in this respect. Just as we saw Olajuwon have to go up against Bowie and Turpin, that'll be the case with Patrick Ewing. Now, he's going to get a lot of help from guys like Dalton and Graham in there. But I think that Patrick Ewing will have his hands full there trying to take care of both of those fellas who are got the good size and a lot of power inside.
Earlier this year, we had a Virginia-Houston game. That was from the Hofheinz Pavilion in Houston. In that ball game, Houston really wasn't pushed that much, but Virginia's really improved since that time.
I think both of those teams are improved significantly from that game, and as I said before earlier in the telecast, I really went away from that game totally disappointed because I didn't think the teams put out what they were capable of doing. But I think what we'll see up in Seattle, two entirely different ball clubs, particularly mentally.
Well, the Virginia story, they come in there as, I guess, the North Carolina State of 1984, and Terry Holland, he said, hey, they've been underestimating us. I think we're for real.
Well, I don't know if they're real. Personnel-wise, for real from a standpoint of the personnel power. We've got 3 of the power teams in the country. They hadn't had that in the Final Four in a long time. So from that standpoint, I don't think Virginia matches up. But they play an excellent mental ball game. They spread out the court real well, and they've got seasoned guards. And that really helps you in an NCAA tournament.
You think about that Kentucky-Georgetown game. You think about the physical stature of that game. You wonder whoever gets out of that what they'd have left for the next time.
That's happened before. I can remember the year Texas El Paso won the national championship, and you had Kentucky going against Duke, and everybody talked about, hey, the national champion is already going to be decided there. We had that last year with Houston against Louisville, and everybody said, well, that's the war. Monday night is just going to be anticlimactic. So sometimes that can happen. That's a very good point, Gary.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
And Brent, we'll be seeing you in Seattle. And let's go back now to Brent Musburger in New York.
All right, Gary and Billy, thank you. We certainly look forward to being out in Seattle. Need linebackers to take on Georgetown. I don't want to let this show pass without making a comment about Michael Graham. I love the way Georgetown plays basketball. Pat Ewing emulates Bill Russell, jumps out on people, influences them, intimidates in the middle. But there is no place for the kind of basketball that we have seen Michael Graham play against Syracuse, SMU, and today against Dayton. He should be tossed out of a basketball game and settle down. He's too good of a talent to get away with conduct like that. We don't need it. They're too good a basketball team. And the road to Seattle in the Final Four continues here on CBS in just a moment. Weekend, 8 teams had a shot at making it to the big showdown in Seattle next weekend, and it took a lot of excellent basketball to get even this far. So now, we're going to take a look not only at this weekend's winners, but also at the teams that came oh so close to reaching the Final Four in Seattle next Saturday. One of the premier events in all of sport, and the main course is still ahead of us. Next Saturday afternoon at 3:30 Eastern Time here on CBS, the Final Four showdown. Virginia against Houston in Game 1, then it's Kentucky against Georgetown. I'm Brent Musburger. We hope you've enjoyed the road to the Final Four on CBS.
United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. Let the friendly skies bring Hawaii alive.